Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. We have a great show. We're going to be speaking with Susan Shumsky about the power of the chakras. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the products and services I offer. With the beginning of the new year, it might be a good time to change your dynamics, change your energy, and start taking care of yourself. So if you're looking for some guidance in which way to go or which direction to head, give me a call or drop me an email and we can set up a time for a private consultation. We can speak in person, by phone, and even over Skype. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. Okay, and I don't think we have any announcements today. I do want to say one thing. I want to thank everyone who, over the Christmas holidays, purchased a copy of my new book, E.T. Chronicles. What myth and legend tells us about human origin, or downloaded my video icon, Deconstructing the Archetypes of the Ancients. I really appreciate it. If you did get a copy or have watched the video, putting a review, I mean, only if it's good, of course, on Amazon would be greatly appreciated. This show, we're going to be speaking with Susan Shumsky about her book, The Power of the Chakras. But let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Susan and get her on the air. Dr. Susan Shumsky is the author of 8 books. She has spent more than 45 years teaching thousands of people meditation, yoga, prayer, affirmation, and intuition. Her book titles include Exploring Meditation, Ascension, Miracle Prayer, Instant Healing, Divine Revelation, and How to Hear the Voice of God. She is a highly acclaimed and greatly respected spiritual teacher, award-winning author, retreat leader, tour guide to sacred destinations, and the founder of Divine Revelation, a unique technology for clearly hearing and testing your intuition. So the author of The Power of the Chakras, her website is divinerevelation.org, Dr. Susan Shumsky. Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today? I'm so glad to be here with you.
I am doing wonderful. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, and I'm glad to have you back on the show after our really good time speaking about your last book on the aura. So this seems like a wonderful follow-up to that.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that you invited me back.
I really do enjoy having you come on. You're a great guest. So it's all good.
Thank you.
So last time we spoke, we talked obviously about the aura, and today we're going to be focusing on the chakra. For the listeners, just to kind of get us started, what are chakras?
Okay, the word is pronounced chakra, and that word is a Sanskrit word, comes from India. It means wheel. And the reason why it's called a wheel is because it has a hub and it has spokes. All right, so what a chakra is a center or a vortex of subtle energy. And it is in your subtle body. It's not in your physical body at all. If you dissected a corpse, you would not find a chakra anywhere. So it's in your subtle body, and it is a place of focus for pranic energy. Prana meaning life force energy. The word prana is also chi, and it's also ki, that life force energy. In China, they call it chi, and in Japan, they call it ki. India, prana. So this center of energy, there's several of them in the body. There's actually hundreds of them in the body. There's 7 major ones in our subtle body. And they are, in fact, regulating and powering our physical body. So if you didn't have chakras, you would not be alive.
Well, okay. How do the chakras, and I'm always going to say it wrong, so just forgive me in advance. How do the chakras differ from the aura then?
Okay, so the auric field, or the aura, is the energy field that pervades, permeates, and surrounds our physical body. And the auric field has 5 different layers to it. So it includes our physical body and our subtle body, our pranic body, a body of subtle energy body, that means. It also includes our mental body, our intellect body, and our causal body. So there's 5 layers to the aura or energy field. The chakras are in one of those layers. The chakras are in the energy layer. It's also called the pranamaya kosha, or the pranic sheath.
Okay, so I'm just being, a little remedial here. So you keep mentioning subtle body, but what's that?
Okay, so we have this gross physical body made of the elements of nature. It's a physical form, an earthly form that we are born into, grows, evolves, changes, dies. That's our physical body. But we also have a subtle body, and that's also called the energy field or the aura. And that subtle body, parts of that subtle body are immortal, do not ever die.
When people talk about the subtle body, or how do I want to phrase this? Are we talking about more about the aura? I guess I've heard people refer to the subtle body as kind of like all of the subtle, gross anatomy, including the chakras, including the different subtle bodies that we have. Would that be a correct statement? Or are we actually just talking about one of the subtle bodies?
No, actually, the aura or energy field includes all of those 5 sheaths that I mentioned. Well, actually, the physical body wouldn't be included. So 4 of the sheaths would be your subtle body. That would include your energy body, energy meaning pranamaya kosha or pranic body, your mental body, mental emotional body, that is, your intellect ego body, and your causal body.
Okay, so we're talking about 4 fields of subtle energy that all make up the auric field, which make up the subtle body.
Exactly.
Okay. With the chakras, you said that without them, we wouldn't be able to live. How do they function? What's their job?
Well, each of the chakras has a specific area of the body that they govern, actually. For example, the root chakra, also called Muladhara, governs your elimination system, your intestines and that sort of thing. Your Svadhisthana, which is your pelvic chakra, that regulates your gonads, it regulates your sexual organs. And when I say these things that they govern things around them also, not just the organs themselves, but also the plexuses, the nerve plexuses are included in that, and endocrine glands and everything. So the Manipura, which is your navel chakra, that is governing your stomach area. And the Anahata, which is the heart chakra, that's governing your heart area. The throat chakra is Vishuddha, and that is governing the throat and your expression. The Agya chakra, which is also known as the brow chakra or the third eye, that is governing your mind and intellect and intuition and many different things around your brain area. And the Sahasrara, which is your crown chakra, is above your head, and that is involved with spiritual awakening, spiritual enlightenment.
How have we learned about these energy fields? It seems like it's just in recent years that quantum physics and scientists sort of have an inkling that there might be something more going on than just our physical body. So where does all of this information come from?
It comes from India, which is really the repository of wisdom, of human wisdom. The ancients of India knew all of this stuff centuries ago, so we're just catching up here in the West. But the information about the chakras comes from India, and then is spread to other places like China and Indonesia, and lastly coming to the West. We're a little slow when it comes to information about spiritual subjects.
Well, that's because we can't pronounce any of the words. I give you credit for, I can't even do the chakra word, and you're going, Monty, and I'm going, oh my God.
You just said it correctly just now, chakra.
Okay, so we've identified the 7 major chakras and their physical connections. Do they have other specific attributes like color and or astrological signs or anything else?
Yeah, actually, they do. There are specific days of the week, colors, planets associated with them, as a matter of fact. So I could talk about that right now if you'd like.
Sure.
So, for example, the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, that is involved with survival instincts and that kind of thing. It is governed by the planet Mars. Its color is yellow. The day of the week is Mars Day, which is Tuesday. In French, they call it Mardi, or Mars Day. And in Spanish also, they call, I don't know how to pronounce it in Spanish, but a similar name for that. So that's the Mars Day. Okay, so then the next chakra is the pelvic chakra, or Svadhisthana, and that one is governed by the moon. It is associated with Moon Day or Monday, obviously, and its color is orange. And then we have the third chakra, which is the navel chakra, and that is in the area of your navel, obviously, your solar plexus area. And that one is associated with the sun, and that's Sunday. And that would be red. The sun is always red color, or associated with red color.
Can I just jump in here real quick?
Yes.
You are identifying the solar plexus as being associated with red, where I have always heard that it was yellow, and then the root chakra was always red in color, and they are reversed. Is there any... How come?
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you information that comes from the ancient scriptures of India, which is the most authentic information there is available about the chakras. It's in the Tantric and Vedic scriptures. They identify these planets with these chakras, and the planets are associated with certain colors. So that's just the way it is. I know it doesn't coincide with people's preconceived notions about what these things are.
That's why I love having people come on, especially people that do research that go,
Exactly.
Maybe not so much.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
So then and by the way, I was going to also tell you what the words mean. Like Muladhara, it actually means root support, the first chakra. The second chakra means abode of the self, and that's your pelvic chakra. The third chakra is your navel chakra, which means city of lustrous jewels. And that's a hub of incredibly complex network of energy conduits that come together in that area of your navel. Then the fourth chakra, which is your heart chakra, which means unstruck sound, anahata, meaning unstruck sound. And that is associated with the planet. I'll get there in a minute. Okay, so that particular chakra is associated with Thursday. I'm sorry. Cancel that. It's associated with Saturday. Saturday is Saturn Day, and Saturn Day would be the heart chakra's planet. And the color for that day would be violet color. And Saturn is a planet that has to do with constriction, expansion, and contraction. And that's what the heart does. It pumps. Okay, so then the next chakra is called the throat chakra, Vishuddha. That's associated with Venus, which is vendredi in French, Venus Day. And that would be, Venus would be the planet, and the color would be indigo. And there's also gemstones, by the way, that goes with these. I can run through the gemstones when we're done. Okay, and then the sixth chakra is the Agya chakra, which means command center. And it's the center of wisdom and higher consciousness, and that's in your pineal gland area. It's your third eye. And that one is associated with Jupiter. And that would be Jeudi, Jupiter Day, which is Thursday. I'm saying the French names because they do associate them with these planets in French, some of them, you know. And that would be, the color would be blue. And then we have the Sahasrara chakra, which is above your head. It's your crown chakra. And literally that word means thousandfold. And that one is associated with a Wednesday, the color green. And Wednesday is Mercredi, or Mercury Day. And I think it's also Mercury Day in the Spanish language as well. It sounds similar to that, Mercury Day. And so that one is, as I said, associated with Mercury, and the color is green. And Mercury, reason why, is because Mercury is about communication. It's about like an interconnection of communication. Just like a vast amount of communication is in the Sahasrara, which is associated with your brain. So that would be the 7 major chakras. And there are gemstones also that are associated with those planets that go with the chakras. So
the colors match?
Yeah, and with the colors, they sometimes corresponds with the colors too. So the Muladhara, or the root chakra, is Mars, and it is red coral is the actual gemstone. The second chakra, which is the pelvic chakra, that's the moon, and so it's moonstone and pearl, basically. The third chakra, which is the navel chakra, that would be a ruby, the red ruby. The heart chakra, which is the fourth chakra, That would be Saturn. That would be the blue sapphire, Saturn's gemstone. Then the fifth chakra, Vishuddha, which is associated with Venus, would be the diamond. And the Agya chakra, or the brow, third eye chakra, that would be associated with yellow sapphire, or it's actually yellow topaz is more the right gemstone for that. And then the final one, the Sahasrara, or the Mercury stone, would be the green emerald green. So this is from the ancient scriptures of India. This is from Hindu or Vedic astrology. It's associated with the chakras, and it has all these connections.
And I'm not going to disagree with you, but it's making my head kind of spin. I mean, myself, and I'm sure a number of other people are running around with, green stones, thinking they're opening and healing their heart chakra, or are running around with a piece of obsidian, thinking it's helping to ground their body and support their root chakra. Yes. But is there a difference between what's going on in the world of crystals versus what's more specifically associated with the chakras?
Okay, so, I think that if a person believes a thing is true, it makes it true. That said, I'm going to say that there is a system of astrology in India. It's called Jyotish or Vedic astrology, which is extremely accurate. It's actually based on where the planets really are in the constellations, rather than on an arbitrary pie sliced sky that's in 12 segments called the tropical zodiac. The Hindu or Vedic system is based upon what they call the sidereal zodiac, which is where the planets really are. There was a precession of the equinoxes, and since 500 AD, if you say my sun is in Aquarius and you're talking about from the West, you're talking about the Western system, the sun is not really in Aquarius. It's actually not in Aquarius. It's in Capricorn, because the place where the actual constellations are no longer are there because of the precession of the equinoxes. However, the Hindu system or Vedic system uses the actual place where the planets are. And that system is also they have expertise in prescribing gemstones. That's one of the great, incredible, valuable things about Hindu astrology, is that you can prescribe gemstones through Hindu astrology. And it really works. I mean, the things that you want to alleviate or remediate or help or heal, these gemstones really work. And you can't prescribe them unless you see the person's chart. The person has to know their birth time, and they have to have an accurate chart in order to prescribe the gemstones accurately. Now, what I was telling you about just now were the gemstones that are associated with those planets and with the chakras. But I would never, ever prescribe a gemstone to a person unless I saw their Hindu chart, unless I saw the chart and actually saw what that person specifically needs to wear.
That it wouldn't be how we would do it in the West and go, oh, well, I need a piece of rose quartz, or I need this to work on that chakra. Okay, that's good.
Well, the thing is, I feel that people instinctively are drawn to specific stones. So I think that a person knows what's good for them and what isn't good for them. They can hold it in their hand. If you hold a stone in your left hand and close your eyes and see what images you get and what feeling you get, you'll know whether that stone is good for you. Another thing you can do with stones is you can put them under your pillow at night when you sleep and see how you feel in the morning when you wake up and what kind of dreams you had and whether you feel uplifted. Well, maybe you had a spiritual dream, maybe you had a revelation. Then you know that stone is good for you.
Great advice. I have been at different events with Vedic astrologers, and they were always, had their gemstones. And I'll just be kind of honest. I always thought they were kind of trying to upsell and didn't really understand why they were, pitching gemstones. But now I understand. I never knew that there was a connection between Vedic astrology and gemstones.
Exactly.
And the prescribing of gemstones.
Exactly. It's a very important part of Hindu astrology. And it's only one of what they call upayas. Upayas are remedial measures in Hindu astrology. And gemstones are just one of those measures. You can also do other measures to alleviate problems with specific planets in your chart. So there's a lot of things you can do. And I'm a big proponent of Vedic astrology. I think it's very, very accurate and it's very good. It's also great. The other great thing about Hindu astrology is using it for electional times, to choose a time when you want to start a project, for example, or send a letter or send an email or begin something new. It's possible to choose very beneficial times. And the reason that's so important in Hindu astrology is they use it to, when they do marriages, they choose times for marriages.
Well, and I guess that would be a new beginning and a new start. And
absolutely.
A good way to set the energy forward.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to find a Vedic astrologer and have them come on and educate me in the difference.
Yeah, it would be a good idea because they're very knowledgeable.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go back to the chakras. Most people, when they discuss the chakras, and even in our conversations so far, we've been talking about them as discrete, isolated things. But aren't they connected to each other through some kind of an energetic system?
Yes, in fact, there is an energetic system. And there's conduits of subtle energy that are running throughout your subtle body. And in fact, it's what's keeping you alive. And these conduits of subtle energy are called nadi, N-A-D-I. And the chakras are plexuses of energy where many of these nadi intersect. They're coming together in a plexus. So your subtle energy system is made up of these energy tubes, or nadi, and the pranic energy flowing through these tubes. It is said in the ancient scriptures of India that when prana is in the body, that is defined as life. When prana leaves the body, that is defined as death. So when prana comes into your body, you are animated, you have life, your body's warm, and so on. And when prana leaves the body goes cold and it dies. So prana is life force energy. And if you have more prana in your body, if you have greater amounts of prana flowing through your subtle body, you're going to be more healthy, vibrant, energetic, and more charismatic. People will be drawn to you. You'll have people, a lot of people will be friends with you and they'll want to be near you because they feel this energy coming from you. It's actually a love energy is what is radiated from people who have a lot of prana flowing through their body.
Can you ever have too much energy?
No.
It's an honest question.
Being too thin or being too rich or something. No.
Well, no, just having too much, and there's balance in all things. And so is it possible that someone could have too much energy flowing through their body?
No. No, pranic energy is a great thing, and increasing pranic energy is a wonderful thing to do. And in my book, The Power of Chakras, I give you several ways to increase your pranic energy through specific ancient techniques.
And we're going to be coming back to those. So Yeah, that's in the second hour where we get more pragmatic. It almost sounds like you're saying that as human beings, we, in many cases, and I'm kind of simplifying here, that we actually kind of lack pranic energy in our bodies and really need to work on increasing the movement of that energy through our subtle bodies.
Yes, if a person is sickly, they don't have much energy, they feel tired, feel exhausted, it just indicates that that the pranic energy is not flowing freely through their nadis. And it's important for people to be healthy, because obviously you're going to reach more of your potential if you're healthy and strong, and you can be more influential if you have more prana flowing through your subtle body.
In your opinion, in going up the spine, we have the Shushmana, of course, didn't probably say that right. And then there's the Ida and the, I just make up my own pronunciations for words, and, hope
That's
people
fine.
kind of figure out what I'm talking about. The Ida and the Pygnalia, which are kind of like, stop laughing.
Pygmalion and okay.
Yeah, it's a dyslexic view of the world, okay?
No, how would you know how to pronounce those? There's Sushumna Nadi, that's the nadi through which Kundalini flows up the spine. And then you have Ida and Pingala. So what's your question about that?
Well, I never would have guessed those pronunciations, but anyway.
Okay.
Where the two energies flow, I mean, we have like the image of the snakes of the caduceus that has come to us in the Western world, which to me is a testament to the ancients' understanding of energy movement. Anyway, where are the chakras? Are the chakras in between the crossings of the energy movement, or are they at the intersections of where the two flows meet?
Yes, some of the chakras are at intersections where the two flows meet. There's what they call three granthis, and those are the places where they actually intersect. And we're talking about Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. So, there's three main places where they intersect, which is your root chakra, your navel chakra, and your third eye chakra. Those are called the three granthis.
Huh. Okay. I'm just learning all kinds of stuff today. But you're the expert, and that's why I figured, even if I have questions, I'll just ask you.
Absolutely.
Do you think you could give an example of how the chakras interact with each other? So it's Monday morning and I get up and I go to work and I have, I go to work. I mean, how can we recognize the experience of the chakras? Can we recognize the experience of the chakras?
Well, the chakras are actually running a lot of your systems. They're behind many of your systems. It's not like, oh, I feel my chakra twinging or something like that. It's just the subtle energy centers in your body. Now, some people might have a very subtle perception and might be very highly aware of their subtle body, and they may have experiences of the chakras, actually. But for average individuals, it's just like an autonomic system. It's just automatically going on within you. And of course, the chakras are communicating with each other because the subtle energy is running throughout your whole subtle body. It's completely running through your subtle body. Now, if you would ask a physician, that physician would say there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a subtle body. There's no such thing as chakras. Because when they're dissecting the physical body, It's not physical. There's nothing physical about the chakras or the nadis. They're not in your physical body. They're in your subtle body. So they would just think that this is woo-woo, esoteric nonsense, I would think.
Well, then what do the chakras do?
Okay, so the chakras, each chakra is governing and is in charge of different areas of the body. For example, let's just take a chakra. Let's take the throat chakra, for example. Okay, so it is in the area of your neck. It's associated with one of the subtle, what we call elements, one of the 5 elements, and the element is ether. It's also associated with the causal body. It is associated with the thyroid gland. It's associated with the physical plexus, the nerve plexus of the cervical plexus. And it is associated with what we call sattva guna, which is one of the 3 major, I don't know how to describe them. There are 3 major modes of creation. And let's see, it's associated with what else? Associated with certain acupuncture points and planets, like I said, associated with Venus, the day Friday, associated with a Dhyat Sui acupuncture point, with the planet Venus and the gemstone diamond, the color indigo, the shape being round, and a particular subtle pranic energy called udana. Okay, so I've got charts like this in the chakras book, so you can read about the different chakras and what they are associated with. So in this case, the throat chakra, it's governing your thyroid gland and it's governing your cervical plexus. So it's very important. I mean, each one of these chakras is running the subtle energy through those areas. And okay, so if you took away your subtle body and you just had your gross physical body, you'd be dead. There would be no life force energy going through your throat, for example, or your cervical plexus, or your circulatory system at all, or your lymph system. All of your different systems, they wouldn't be working, because this pranic energy that's flowing through your subtle body is giving life to each one of those areas of your body. I don't know if that describe, or if you have a better understanding now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying, to help my listeners to understand, what the whole idea is. Do the chakras interact with each other? I mean, there's movement up and down the
Sushumna Nadi.
Yeah, that thing. That's I didn't
that
even want to say it.
Center, goes through the center of your spine. It actually goes through your spinal column.
But for example, does the second chakra interact with the heart chakra, or does the root chakra interact with any of the other chakras? And I don't mean like all the time, every day, but in different situations.
Yes, they definitely are talking to each other. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to just give you a little bit of an overview about how they're related. For example, you have your root chakra, which is involved with instinct and lower emotions. And then you have your, and it's also involved with basic survival. and it's involved with a level of consciousness which is the deep sleep state. And your pelvic chakra is involved with lower creativity, which is physical procreation and involved with the dream state. Your navel chakra is involved with the lower self, willpower, and the waking state. Now, these are associated with, for example, the root chakra is associated with lower emotion, but the third eye chakra is involved with higher emotion. The third eye chakra is involved with higher emotion, perception, higher knowledge, and God consciousness. Your pelvic chakra, which is involved with lower creativity, physical procreation, and so on, that has a correspondence with your throat chakra, which is involved with higher creativity and creative expression and cosmic consciousness. Your navel chakra, involved with the lower self and egotism and willpower and the waking state of consciousness, has a correspondence with the higher self, which is your crown chakra, which its drive is union with God, and its level of consciousness is unity consciousness. So you see how there's a correspondence with each of the lower chakras to each of the higher chakras on an emotional level and on a spiritual level. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. In order for someone to be able to access their higher conscious, their higher level of creativity, are they required to have their lower chakras open as well in order to access that higher level information?
That's a great question. And it's my belief that each one of the chakras should be open as much as possible. In other words, clear, free from negative emotions, free from negative thought forms, free from being stuck. And when they're opened up, when they're cleared out, then we can have a higher octave, kind of. In other words, if you can clear out your root chakra, that will help you to clear out your higher emotions, so to speak, your higher perceptions. So I think that these chakras are very much involved with each other, the lower chakras and the upper chakras. Now, when I was describing the associations between the lower and the upper chakras, I did not mention the heart chakra, because the heart chakra is the gateway between the lower chakras and the upper chakras. The heart chakra is our awakening chakra. It's the place where we awaken to higher consciousness. So that's associated with what we call the transcendental consciousness, or the fourth state. It's the fourth chakra, and it is associated with what's called Turiya, which means fourth state, the fourth state of consciousness. So that would be transcendental consciousness, where in deep meditation we experience this very deep relaxation and peace, and that's our opening to higher awareness.
Excellent. I think that piece of information you've just shared is really important. I know a lot of people who are looking to develop their intuition, are looking to basically open up their upper chakras, open up their clairaudience, but they tend to neglect their lower self, those lower chakras. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is that we need to make sure they are clear as well, if not maybe first.
Yes, it's really, really important, Rita Louise, because the reality is that in order for us to be a whole being, we have to develop all aspects of ourselves. And if we ignore and negate the lower chakras, then what we're doing is we're leaving them all muddy and messed up. And then when we try to have spiritual experiences, this causes a problem. It causes ego problems. For example, there are these 3 granthis that I mentioned. The first granthi, and a granthi means actually a lock, it's like a lock or a binding. It's a problem, in other words. And if we try to develop our intuition, which is where the third granthi is, in the third eye area, and if we try to open that and develop that without first dealing with our survival chakra, the root chakra, which is associated with that, what happens is we become very egotistical. Even though we develop psychic abilities, what happens is we have what we call spiritual arrogance. And that's a problem. It's not true spirituality. And there's a lot of that in the New Age field, I'm sorry to say. It's where so-called spiritual people think they're better than everybody else. They think that they are the only people who know the truth, and so therefore they're superior to all other human beings. And, that's not real spirituality.
Yeah, no kidding. And I know a couple of those kind of people. I mean, my feeling is that if there is this connection between the lower chakras and the higher ones, and you don't clean out the lower ones, now all of that energy kind of has to move through all of this mud and sludge, and everything would be cloudy and distorted.
It does get cloudy and distorted, and that's a problem. And so that's why we find a lot of different, shall we say, a lot of random, different kind of energies. Like, for example, if you go to a whole life expo or something like that, you go to the Conscious Life Expo, you go to the New Life Expo. So you're going to find all kinds of energies running around there, because not everybody there has really developed has really cleared out their emotional problems before they attain their psychic perception. I mean, it's possible to become a psychic and to have certain experiences without being truly spiritual. I mean, I hate to say this. It's kind of a touchy subject, but the reality is that there's a lot of energies moving around in the New Age community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are not healthy. So that's why you're going to find divergent energies when you go to like a New Age fair. It isn't all love and light. It appears on the really surface changed. On the surface, it appears to be all love and light. But there are people with emotional problems who are calling themselves psychics.
And a lot has changed over the years. When I first entered the field, professionally speaking, going to whole life expos and whatever, I mean, it took you work, and you had to learn and study or find someone to work with you to teach you. Where today, people read a book or go online or they take one class. It's like, oh, I'm psychic now. It's like, really?
Yeah. Take a weekend class. Oh, I'm a Reiki master. But I have
a piece of paper.
I'm a Reiki master. I took a class on a weekend.
Fun. I offer a certification course, and if you really work the training, it takes you 2 years. 2 years. And people are like, but I could take this class and it's just like 4 weekends. It's like, yeah, but what do you learn? You can't like teach somebody to be psychic in a month. I'm sorry, it just don't work.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you, Rita Louise. And it wasn't what I thought I was going to be talking about today, but I think it's a really important thing that people understand that developing your spirituality takes dedication and effort. And I've been at it for 47 years. I spent 22 years in an ashram studying with a spiritual master from India. So I'm not saying that I'm superior to anybody. There's plenty of people coming up now who were just born 20 years ago who are a lot more highly evolved than I am because they are born into a higher vibrational earth. The vibration of this earth has been rising and multiplying and getting exponentially more and more light in it. So the youngsters that are coming along now, they're pretty amazing. They are already starting at a much higher level than I started at. So,
but they also aren't getting the life lessons.
Yeah, they also need to study, and they need to apply themselves, and they need to be dedicated if they want to learn to become psychic or to develop spiritually or to attain spiritual enlightenment. You don't get spiritually enlightened in a weekend. And I just would highly recommend that people be very skeptical about somebody who claims to be anything. Who claims to be enlightened. Like, I'm enlightened. I am, saying I am enlightened. I attain my enlightenment on, I hear these people saying that kind of thing, and it's like, oh, really? Okay.
Oh, I'm hearing you, sister. I mean, I have a lot of friends, and I would say in the last couple of years, half of them have decided that they were psychic, and now they're all doing readings, and it's like, really? Really? And it's a little scary what they might be telling people. It's like, well, I just decided to do it, and now I'm doing it almost full time. And it's like, really? Okay, whatever. Scary. I mean, you scare me just regular and skip the psychic part. And I just shut up. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for over 20 years and studying since I was 12.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, well, you can go be psychic. Do you even know what a chakra is? A what? Like, okay. All right. I'm looking at the clock. We can get into this next topic. All right. We're going to get back on track. One of the things.
By the way, a person doesn't need to know what a chakra is in order to attain enlightenment. You do not have to know what a chakra is. You can be spiritually enlightened and not ever know anything about chakras. I just want people to understand that because it is the truth. There are more important things than chakras in life.
Okay, good point. But it does give you a little bit of credibility if you can kind of walk the walk and talk the talk.
Absolutely.
Okay, changing topics. When talking about the chakras, a lot of people talk about something called the Kundalini.
Exactly.
And for the listeners, what is the, see, I can say this word. What is the Kundalini?
Good. All right. So Kundalini, the word kundal means curled up. The root, in other words, of Kundalini is kundal. And kundal means curled up. So it's a curled up or coiled up energy. And usually it is at the base of it's just sitting at the base of the spine. In the vast majority of human beings that are walking around on the planet, their Kundalini is simply coiled up at the base of the spine. It has not risen. It has not gone up through Sushumna Nadi. In fact, that is the conduit. Sushumna Nadi is the conduit of subtle energy through which Kundalini flows. And in most people, Sushumna is closed at the bottom end. It's just closed. Nothing's flowing through it at all. However, if you practice certain methods, you can force Kundalini to flow into Sushumna Nadi and flow up the spine, flow up through that nadi, that conduit, which goes up through your spinal canal. That's where it's located. But remember, it's not in your physical body, it's in your subtle body. So that particular nadi is very, very important for spiritual growth and development, because this energy, which is prana, the life force energy, that specific kind of life force energy called Kundalini, will flow up through that conduit, and it opens and awakens your chakras just like lotuses are opening or flowers are blooming, you might say. So that is extremely important, that particular conduit of energy. And Kundalini goes up through this Sushumna Nadi and awakening your chakras on the way, opening, awakening as it goes up the spine, and eventually pierces up through the top of the skull up to the seventh chakra called Sahasrara chakra, which is your 1,000-petal lotus, and awakens you completely. You become spiritually awakened completely. So that's what Kundalini does. It's incredibly powerful. And many people have Kundalini experiences, and some people get very frightened by them because they're strange experiences and they're having these sensations in their body, and then they go to the doctor, they go even to the psychiatrist or whatever. It's like, why am I having these experiences? The doctors have no clue what this is about. They just give them drugs, and that closes them down real fast. Psychotropic drugs will definitely close down your Kundalini and your chakras pretty fast. So,
is the Kundalini up and active once it's moved out of that coil state all the time, or does it rise and fall?
Good question. Good question. Yes, it rises and falls. And any person who is really interested in higher wisdom, who has some subtle perception developed, definitely their Kundalini is awakened to some degree.
So it's not just an on or off thing. It is awakened and can be actually further enhanced, I guess would be the way to say it.
Well, it's awakened. It goes, because it's going up the spine, it's going up through all these different chakras, these different levels, through the root and then the pelvic, the navel, the heart, the throat, the brow, and then the crown chakras. So what's happening is gradually, little by little, you're becoming more and more awakened. And there is a method called Kundalini Yoga, which deals directly with awakening the Kundalini energy. But any form of yoga that you practice, there are many, many different types of yoga, and any form of yoga that you practice is going to help you to awaken Kundalini energy.
The music's going to come up in a second, so why don't we just go ahead and wrap here and come back to talking about the Kundalini after the break.
Great.
Okay. We're here talking to Dr. Susan Shumsky. Her book is The Power of the Chakras. Her webpage is something. It
drsusan.org. drsusan.org.
But Divine Revelation is you too, correct?
Yeah, if you know how to spell it.
Okay. All right.
It's easier to get there from drsusan.org.
Yeah, that one. And I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
listening to IRN, the Inception Radio Network, Chicago, Illinois.
Are you looking for a cure for boredom? Never worry. IRN's new interactive website introduces a number of ways to pass time while you listen to your favorite show. Choose anything from the IRN Chat Lounge, the Game Lounge, Video Lounge, or the Mood Lounge. These fun, exciting features let you chat in real time with fellow listeners, view live skywatches, play daily posted online games, or pick a show based on topic. The choices are endless. Use your time wisely, keeping it all on IRN.
Who were the gods of antiquity? They've been described as the forces of nature, levels of consciousness, and aspects of our psyche. Stories that depict their incredible weapons, their flying machines, and their amazing adventures are characterized as being the product of our ancestors' fanciful imaginations. But what if the tales of the gods are true? Did the writers, chroniclers, and scribes of our distant past actually document a realistic view of our origin? My latest book, Man-Made, The Chronicles of Our Extraterrestrial Gods, looks at our most ancient legends. Learn of the torrid romances, elaborate plots, violent scandals, and conspiracies that played out in antiquity. Find out the role the gods played in the life and culture we have today. If you want to find out the truth of who we are and where we come from, order your copy of Man-Made today. For more information, go to www.manmadethechronicles.com. That's www.manmadethechronicles.com.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Move past the crossroads in your life and discover alternative solutions to your deepest concerns at soulhealer.com. So whether it's a physical problem, an emotional issue, a question about work, or troubles in your relationships, naturopath and medical intuitive Dr. Rita Louise can help you. Bring peace, harmony, and health back into your life. Schedule a session today. Visit soulhealer.com right away and live the life you've been dreaming of.
You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
We only have a couple of seconds before we have to get back to the show, and I want to tell you how you can jumpstart your intuition today. Using my free 50-page introductory guide filled with simple, revolutionary, and proven techniques, you can ignite your intuition and tap into your inner wisdom, all from the comfort of your own home. The Institute of Applied Energetics is the leader in online home study instruction for those interested in becoming a certified medical intuitive, intuitive counselor, or energy medicine practitioner. Now is the time to transform your life and take it to a completely new level. Discover who you are and how you work. Open the door to the world of intuition, health, and healing. You can jumpstart your intuition right away by going to www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and downloading our free guide. Get the opportunity of a lifetime and live the life you deserve. Download your free Jumpstart Your Intuition guide today at www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com and begin living a life filled with passion and purpose.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Go Go deep inside yourself and venture into the realm of the unconscious mind with my Meditating on the Kabbalah guided imagery audio CDs. Discover who you are and what you want in life. Meditating on the Kabbalah can help you to open, clear, and revitalize the energetic pathways of your subtle being. They will support you in your spiritual quest by helping you to access the profound insights and inner guidance you need as you work in alignment with your highest good. Let them help you to release negative thoughts and emotions and clear away any limitations that may be keeping you from experiencing your full potential. Walk down the path to health, healing, understanding, and enlightenment with Meditating on the Kabbalah. Order your copy today at www.soulhealer.com. That's right, that's www.soulhealer.com.
Hello, Inception Radio Network. Would you like your favorite show to be played again live on air? Well, now the choice is in your hands with IRN's live request portal, an easy way to request your favorite show with a simple click. IRN's live request portal now gives you exclusive access to all of the shows. How easy is it? Simply type a show name or a guest name, click request, even write a dedication message, and that's it. Try it now. Simply visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com, click on the Live Request tab under the show menu. Now playing your favorite show is just a mouse click away.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the second hour of the show. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading our free 50-page guide. So if you've ever wanted to become an intuitive counselor, energy medicine practitioner, or medical intuitive, this is the place to go to start your training today. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. It's also brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the products and services I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, energy healings, and psychic readings. We've been here talking with Dr. Susan Shumsky about her book, The Power of the Chakras. Her webpage is divinerevelation.com.org, and drsusanshumsky.com. Would that be correct? drsusan.org. drsusan.org. See, right. I tried to get drrita.com, but the two R's together just didn't work.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, before the break, we were talking about the Kundalini, and there was a question in the chat room earlier, which I thought was kind of weird, but kind of interesting at the same time. And I'm just going to throw it at you. And the question had something to do with, if you raise your Kundalini, is there a possibility that you could spontaneously combust by having too much energy? I mean, it sounds kind of goofy, but in a weird kind of way, may be possible.
Well, Kundalini is known as the serpent power. It's also known as the fire, cosmic fire. As a matter of fact, there's a picture that Alex Gray made. He's a beautiful artist, of Kundalini fire. It's quite interesting. So a person might perceive when the Kundalini is rising up their spine, it may feel like they're on fire. It may feel like fire is rising up the spine. But it's really just pranic energy flowing up the spine, and it's completely benign. It's not going to hurt you. The only reason why people have difficulties with Kundalini, why they get into problems and get into psychological difficulties, is because they don't understand it. So they're having these weird sensations and it scares them. And it can be extremely frightening to have experiences that are seemingly off the wall. Not only physical sensations, but emotional things going on, and maybe spiritual perceptions that are awakening that are different than our normal everyday consciousness. When you experience higher consciousness and altered states of perception, it's really scary to people that have just been walking around in kind of a fog their whole life. Maybe all of a sudden their senses are awakened and they're seeing things, almost like seeing things for the first time, or the colors are brighter and everything around them is more intense. Maybe noises get louder and seeing things gets sharper, and it scares people. It can be frightening. So that's why it's important to have education, to understand these things so that you don't get scared about them. Okay, all right, I'm reading in this book, in Susan's book, The Power of Chakras. I'm reading about other people's experiences. I'm reading that these things can happen to me. There's no need to be scared about it. There's no need to go to the psychiatrist and ask them for Thorazine, or I don't think they even prescribe that anymore. But there are drugs that will completely shut down your subtle sense perceptions. So it's better to have education rather than have drugs.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you're right, the drugs, I've always wondered, do the drugs actually shut down the chakras, or do they just shut down our ability to interact with or interpret the information that's coming from the chakras?
What they do is that it's actually poison. You're poisoning your body. And that poison will cause all problems. It will cause blocks in your subtle energy system. And it dulls your senses. Most of the psychotropic drugs, they dull your senses. They dull your ability to have higher consciousness.
The Kundalini, does it have to rise? Is it like a teenager going into maturity and puberty or menopause? Is it part of the life cycle, or is it more connected with individual people and their personal spiritual development?
That's a really great question. The thing is, Rita Louise, that, as we grow, as we mature, certain things happen physiologically and so on. But Kundalini can remain completely coiled up and asleep our entire life. In fact, it can remain asleep for thousands of lifetimes, because I believe in reincarnation. But eventually, as we evolve, as we grow spiritually from lifetime to lifetime, a time will come when we realize that the things that we're interested in are no longer just survival, eating, having sex, and gaining power, gaining influence, prestige. And that's the time when Kundalini will start to rise, because we start to have higher interests. When you have higher interests, that's an indication that you're interested in something other than your ego and your survival needs, your egotistical needs. So Kundalini rises and you start to become interested in higher aspirations. So what I was just discussing earlier, survival, having sex, and gaining ego gratification and prestige, those are the first three chakras. I've just described the first three chakras. When you get to the fourth chakra, heart starts to open. You start awakening to higher pursuits. When you get to the fifth chakra, which is about creative expression, higher creative expression, like artistic and that sort of expression, then you are really on your way to becoming more of a fully evolved human being. And then when you open your sixth chakra, which is your third eye, then you're really into higher wisdom and intuition, higher perceptions. And then when you get up to the seventh chakra, finally, then you're truly awakening to God. You're awakening to spirituality on a much higher level. So the chakras are really about human evolution. They're about awakening to your full potential, becoming who you really are. Well, you already are who you really are. It's not becoming who you really are. It's realizing who you really are. Because every human being is a divine being. They just don't realize it. And when Kundalini is asleep, coiled up at the base of the spine, the human being is running around almost like an animal. They don't have higher aspirations. But when you awaken to higher aspirations, that indicates your Kundalini has risen to a higher level in your subtle body.
Okay, here's a little bit of a devil's advocate question. Can there be people that run a lot of energy, so they're very charismatic, they have big energy, but they're really kind of narcissistic? Would their Kundalini have risen?
Well, you can still have a lot of charisma and a lot of pranic energy flowing through your body, and Kundalini hasn't risen that high.
Okay,
so pranic energy is what gives you charisma. If you have a lot of pranic energy flowing through your nadis. But that one nadi, Kundalini, is the one that has to do with rising in consciousness.
Okay.
And
so
thank you
someone
for asking that question.
So someone that's charismatic might not necessarily be a spiritual person.
Exactly.
Per se.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have a couple of questions in the chat room. This one's from RW. And the question is, do you know about the rainbow death in Tibet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, then you can tell me what
it.
that is, because I'm going, okay.
Yes, I wrote a book about it. The book is called Ascension. It's a fantastic book, and I highly recommend that you read that book because it explains in huge detail all about the rainbow body and all of the other traditions all over the world that have to do with attaining the rainbow body. So what the rainbow body is, it's transforming your physical body into a light body. It has to do with attaining a level of consciousness where you become immortal. And it's a very strange kind of phenomenon and has not really happened to that many people, although the Buddhists claim that it has happened to many thousands of their monks and nuns in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. However, in the West, it's virtually unknown, completely unknown. In India, it's known as Sarubi Samadhi. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And it has to do with transformation of your physical form into a light form. So what you do is it has to do, and it also has to do with the chakras, because what you're doing is you're absorbing all the elements of the body, and the elements are lodged in the chakras. All right, let me just backtrack here for a moment. Your root chakra is the earth element. Your pelvic chakra is water element. Your navel chakra is fire element. Your heart chakra is air element. And your throat chakra is ether element. Those are the 5 elements of the body, and they are centered in these 5 chakras. So the first 5 chakras. So when you practice what we call Laya Yoga, which means absorption when you are absorbing these elements as you go up the spine, Kundalini absorbs these elements as you go up the spine, actually, when you're attaining the final realization of spiritual enlightenment. Kundalini goes up the spine, absorbing these elements one by one by one. And when all of those elements have been absorbed, then you are absorbed back into what we call the Bindu point, or the singularity, they call it in physics, where it's like the Big Bang and the Big Crunch. Well, on the individual level, there's a Big Bang and a Big Crunch. At the end of our cycle of human evolution, we get absorbed back into oneness, into absolute oneness, into what we call the Bindu, which is absolute, unbounded, unlimited awareness, complete absorption into this oneness. And at the same time, the body gets transformed into a light body. So these Buddhist monks and nuns, before their death, they go into a hut, and they do this absorption. They transform their physical body into a light body. And when they do that, they disappear. There's nothing left of their physical body. And people who are observing it, they see a flash of light. Now, this might sound familiar to people because, for example, when Jesus ascended, there is some physical evidence in the Shroud of Turin that there was like a photographic image placed on that shroud, which indicated there was a flash of light when he ascended. But let's talk about some instances that are more current. There was an amazing saint of South India. His name was Ramalinga Swami, and he lived in a place called Vadalur, and I actually went and visited there. I've been to India many, many times, and one of the times I went, I visited his place there. And in the 1800s, and he was an amazing saint, by the way. There's many stories about him. He wrote amazing poetry, and it is said that he never cast a shadow, so he always wore almost like a sari. He wore covering his whole body, including over his head, so that he would cast a shadow. And there's many miracles that are associated with him. So one day he told his disciples that he was going to ascend. He said, "I'm leaving now." And he was not really all that old when he decided to leave. He was in his 50s. And he had been a great, very charitable. Also, he had started a place for elderly people and for poor people, and it was very, very amazing saint. So he said, "I'm going into this hut, and I'm going to close the door, and when you open it tomorrow, you will find nothing. There will be nothing there." He said, "Keep the light burning, this eternal light outside the door, and always keep it burning." So I went into the hut, and they chanted, his disciples chanted all night long. There was no other way to get out of that hut. There was only that one door. It was just a small little hut. Sometime in the middle of the night, they saw a violet light flash from underneath the door. There was this flash of light. And the next morning, he was gone. There was nothing there. No body, no bones, no nothing. He was gone. And the police came to investigate. And I saw the articles, actually, when I visited that place. I saw the articles in the papers from the local area there in India. Police came and investigated, and they concluded that he had vanished into thin air. Okay, so that can only happen in India, where the police come and they make that declaration. But in fact, that's what happened. So that is a more recent example of the rainbow body. And then there was another example in the 1950s with a Mormon woman named Anna Lee Scarron. And I talk about that in my book, Ascension, as well. So this rainbow body is real. It is associated with the chakras because it has to do with absorption of the elements and transforming the physical body into a light body. Are we still on the air? Hello. Okay, so Rita all right, need to get Rita back. Okay.
I muted myself because there was a train going by and then I forgot.
Oh, okay. You forgot to unmute. I've done that many times.
I think it's just very interesting that the cultural differences between in the West and in India, where it's perfectly acceptable for someone to vanish in a flash of purple light.
I know, isn't
where
that great?
Here they'd be like, come on down. We got this nice padded room for you.
Exactly. You're right.
Wow. Okay. There was another question in the chat room that I thought was really good. And it's from Marco, and he wanted to know, how do you know if your chakras are blocked or which ones are blocked?
Oh, that's a great question. And you'll know by your level of emotional maturity. Okay, so if you are really only focused on survival needs and acquiring property and continuing the family line, acquiring material objects and shelter, and your whole obsession is with survival, then you're stuck in the root chakra. If you're completely obsessed with sexuality and you're kind of a sex addict, then you've got the problem with your second chakra. The third chakra, if you're only interested in prestige and gaining wealth and power and status and recognition, if you're interested in controlling and manipulating situations and people, then self-assertion and domination, that would be the third chakra. If you are emotionally very immature in reference to, let's say, overly sentimental, overly into nostalgia and things that are highly sentimental, it means you're stuck in the fourth chakra, which is the heart chakra. So like that, you can tell whether you have issues with the various chakras, and also you can tell if you have physical problems in those areas. If you have manifested physical difficulties, for example, in your intestines, then you've got a problem with your first chakra.
That makes sense.
Yep. Because our chakras are actually associated with specific organs and specific parts of our physical body.
I'm sorry. I hope it's not you doing the dishes while we're talking.
Actually, there's somebody here who's doing something with the dishes. I apologize.
That's okay, but I was just like, someone's doing dishes.
Somebody's, yeah, it's okay. I think they're done.
Can our chakras ever break? I mean, I don't mean like energetically, physically break, but just not work?
Right. So you'd be dead if your chakras actually were not working. If any of your chakras were really not working, you'd be dead. But here's something. It is possible for your aura to get tears, kind of, or leaks, or streaks, or black. And I know, since you're medical intuitive, you've seen this in the energy field. And that indicates there's a problem with that part of the body. There can be tears, there can be holes sort of in the aura, and that's indicative of weaknesses in the energy field.
But not necessarily of the chakras per se.
It can be in the chakras, yes. It can be in the chakras or other parts of your energy field. If, for example, you've got a big black mark in your heart chakra, you'd better go to the cardiologist right away.
Unless you've already been to the cardiologist and it's just leftover from all the stuff that they finished doing to you.
That's true too, yeah.
I mean, people, I think, don't understand that all of their emotional stuff sits in their subtle body.
It does.
And they carry it around for
as a
people
matter of
like
fact,
us to read.
There's a part of there's one of the sheaths of your subtle bodies called the Manomaya Kosha, and that's your emotional body. And your emotions are lodged there. So if you've got negative emotions in that body, then you have a problem.
If you have issues in one of those bodies, does it filter down and start affecting the physical body?
Pardon me?
If you have issues in one of the different levels of the subtle body, eventually does that funnel down and start affecting the physical body?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that is the cause of physical illnesses. That is the cause of physical illnesses. It's the only cause of physical illnesses.
Well, I was going to, there are the people that say, but then I fell and I broke my leg. How do you respond to, what's your whole feeling on things like karma, or that there's a spiritual reason why things happen to us?
Okay. So now we're going to get into a whole other...
I know, I'm sorry.
Big can of worms, but that's a good can of worms to open, I believe, because I think it's really important for everyone to understand what causes things to happen in our life. So there's a wonderful verse that I love to quote, which is the very first verse of the first chapter of the Dhammapada, written by Lord Buddha. It's the most important scripture of Buddhism. And in the very first verse of the first chapter, Lord Buddha says, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. Okay, that's a stunning statement, and I'm going to say it again. He says, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. And then he goes on to say in the next few verses, he says, if a person speaks or acts with a pure thought, then happiness follows him or her. If a person speaks or acts with an impure thought, then unhappiness follows him or her. So what he's telling us is that we're creating our own reality and our own destiny through, number one, our thoughts, number two, our words, and number three, our deeds. So we're creating everything moment by moment through what we call Kriyamana karma. They call it that in India. That's what you're creating moment by moment through every thought, every word, and every deed that you do. So we're creating our physical, mental, and emotional setup through our thoughts, primarily, our words and our deeds. And I believe in reincarnation. So I believe that we carry our beliefs, our habits, our conditioning, our belief systems, I call that our BS. We carry that lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and exacerbating, more and more, whatever it is that we're creating, positive or negative. So we're creating that destiny. And so if we fall off the horse, there's a seed that created the falling off the horse, or somebody, or an automobile accident, or an illness. We created it through our thoughts, through our words, and through our deeds. So it is my belief that we are 100% responsible for what happens to us. Nothing ever happens to us. We only happen to ourselves. because we're the creator of our destiny. We create everything. And Lord Buddha is not the only person to say that. It's been said throughout the ages by everyone. Jesus said, "It is done unto you according to your belief. It is done unto you as you believe." And every other great thinker has said the same thing.
That's a great answer. We're going to go back to ascension here real quick because we have a question from Blue Sky, and he or she wants to know if ascension is the only way that a person can leave the earth.
Oh, no, not at all. Okay, so there are different choices that you can make when you die or before you die. One of those choices is ascension, and that's only been done by a very small handful of people who ever did that, where they transformed this physical body into a light body and disappeared in a flash of light. It's very rare and not easy to do. It's extremely rare. And there's been some saints. There's been a few instances that are told, legends and so on. But the reality is that at death, what happens is prana leaves the body, and the body's cold and dead, but you're still alive. There's nothing really happens at death. Your senses are still working because your senses are not in your physical body. They're in your subtle body. They're in your manomaya kosha, that level, that layer of your body called the mental body, mental emotional body. That's where your senses are. So you're still seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling. That's why when people have NDEs or near-death experiences, they see themselves lying dead on the ground, and they're somewhere up on the ceiling looking at themselves, watching people scurrying around trying to resuscitate them. Or they'll see themselves on a hospital table or whatever. How are they seeing? They're seeing through their senses, which are in your subtle body. So when you die, people who've had the near-death experience, they report. You go into a tunnel, you go into a light, you have a life review, many things happen on the other side, and then you reincarnate. So that's one choice you can make. That's just the normal course of evolution. We die, and then we come back. We're reincarnated. Another choice you can make would be to attain a state of a spiritual enlightenment while you're still in this physical body. And when you do that, you no longer reincarnate. You have merged with the absolute. You have merged with the oneness or the wholeness, and you don't come back. Another choice you could make would be to attain a state of God consciousness whereby you decide that you don't want to merge with the absolute, but you'd rather live in quote unquote heaven. You'd rather live forever with God and eternally be in bliss at the feet of God. Another choice you could make would be to, as you're going through this long road of evolution, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, eventually you would actually evolve from a human being into a higher being, like an angel or an archangel. That will take you, I don't know how many lifetimes, thousands, millions, and then eventually you start out, as a lower form of life, and then you eventually evolve to a higher form of life. So these are some of the different choices that you might make. Some people choose to get stuck or stranded in what we call the astral world after death, and they don't move on into the light. And then they could be stuck there for centuries or even longer. And that's a very bad choice to make, but some people do make that choice.
Not one that I would really want to make.
No.
Oop, here comes a train. One of the things that you talk about in your book are some other chakras that most people aren't familiar with. I think, if you know what chakras are, you know that there are 7 major chakras in the body. But you talk about other ones that aren't often discussed, and I would say their names, but I can't pronounce them. And so perhaps you could talk about these additional ones that we have and what they do.
Absolutely. So, for example, there's something called a Hrit chakra, which is right below the Anahata chakra. The Anahata chakra is your heart chakra. And right below that, there's something called Hrit, H-R-I-T chakra. And that is a small chakra where the deity resides, or shall we say, devotion to God is really, that's what that chakra is about. And so that's a very important chakra having to do with opening your awareness to God, opening your awareness to devotion and to really developing your heart. And then there's several chakras that are in your head. Actually, they're in your brain. For example, there are some subcenters of the Agya chakra. The Agya chakra is your third eye chakra. And there's 3 subcenters in the Agya chakra. There's the Manas chakra, which is where your mental, emotional body is really the center of your mental, emotional body. It's where it exists. Then there's the Indu, which is your intellect, ego chakra. And then there's what we call the Nirvana chakra, which is your causal chakra, and that one is at the top of your skull. And nirvana, the word nirvana means absorption. So that's where all these elements that we talked about, they get absorbed into that chakra. And that's at the very top of your head, as sort of where the bones come together, like the soft spot on a baby's skull. That's the nirvana chakra. Actually, in my book, The Power of Chakras, I have diagrams that show you where each of these chakras is, so you can study in the book. Then there's another chakra. It's called the Guru chakra. It's the lower part of your Sahasrara, your crown chakra. It's the lower part of your crown chakra. It's called Guru chakra. And that is where the guru resides, or the teacher, the higher knowledge resides there. And then the very center of your Sahasrara chakra is what we call Supreme Bindu. That's another chakra. And that one is the absolute void, or the singularity that I was talking about earlier. That's where the singularity is. So the interesting thing about this whole chakra system, and there are 14 of these chakras, by the way, when I went to the ancient scriptures of India, the Tantric and the Vedic scriptures, I found all these 14 were described. So the interesting thing about this system is that as above, so below. So in cosmic life, in the cosmic, in the universe, there is a singularity, there is a big bang, there is a big crunch. In India, they call that Mahapralaya, where all of the elements of creation get absorbed back into a oneness. In physics, they talk about that as well, and theoretical physics. And in our own physical, our own body, in our own subtle body, the same thing is there, as above, so below. And I have a chapter in my book, The Power of Chakras, that shows how this cosmic life relates to individual life, and how at the end of our course of evolution, we have a big crunch also. There's the Big Bang and the big crunch, which we call Laya. And in the big cosmic sense in India, they call that Mahapralaya, or the big gigantic absorption of the entire universe, which goes in and out cycle after cycle after cycle. Very far out. This is a very far out book, The Power of Chakras, because it talks about these cycles of creation, and it's pretty cool.
These cycles, are we all talking about the Yuga system? in the cycle?
Yes, in fact, we are.
Okay. So,
Yes, we are.
A few billion years.
Yeah, a few billion years, yeah.
A few billion years.
Over and over and over, by the way.
Right. And I think it's just so interesting because we see ourselves and life on this planet as being so, we think it's everything, but we don't realize that it's been going on for much longer than 4.5 billion years since the Earth was formed.
Right. Exactly.
All right, I'm looking at the clock and I'm wondering if we can take another question.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Plenty of time for another question.
Well, I mean, because I had my own stuff, but then there was, stuff in the chat room. So I'm just going to give it. There was one that I thought would be kind of interesting, because you're really kind of talking from a very Eastern perspective. And so I think this would be an interesting question. Do you see God as being a personality or an energy source, energy form?
Well, I believe that there are two aspects of God. There's the absolute unmanifest aspect, and there is the manifest aspect. So the absolute, pure, unlimited, unbounded, unborn, undying, eternal absolute, which has no name, no form, nameless, formless, imperishable. That would be what I call the impersonal aspect of God. And that is the aspect of God that is the ultimate reality, ultimate reality. And then there are various deities, They have personalities, they have names, they have forms. Subtle forms, not gross forms, obviously. They're not walking around in physical form, although each one of us is a part of this big cosmic God. Each one of us is a divine being because we have the spark of God within us. We have God, and God is everywhere, right? God is within every atom of creation. God is here, there, and everywhere within this, that, and everything. And therefore, God is within us. So, in fact, we are God. So everything is God. But there's also deities, and it's possible to communicate with these deities and experience them, as well as being able to experience this absolute pure consciousness that's called Sat Chit Ananda, which is that impersonal aspect of God, which is undying and unborn and so on. So in the state that we call samadhi, which means evenness of mind and stillness of body, that's where you experience the absolute pure consciousness.
All right, so now I'm going to be a little devil's advocate again. Where do you fall in on the whole concept of ancient aliens? It seems to me that when you start talking about some of the godhoods that come out of India, that they could very well have been some kind of extraterrestrial when they're, because they do take on some kind of a physical form.
Well, there is something that they call avatars in India. An avatar is an incarnation of God. And if you are Christian, for example, I would say that you would consider Jesus an avatar, although you wouldn't because you're Christian. But in fact, Jesus would be considered an avatar to a person because he's supposedly an incarnation of God. But in India, they count specific incarnations of God. For example, Lord Krishna is an incarnation of God. And there's several others. Certainly don't want to go into that right now. But
yeah.
But there are certain beings who are supposedly God incarnated in human form and human flesh. It's God coming onto the earth for a specific purpose to do a specific task. In fact, in India, they believe the Lord Buddha is one of those incarnations of God. And As far as aliens, I don't know. I'm not an expert on aliens. An alien would be a physical form. Whether that is a god in physical form, I doubt it. I think an alien would probably be an alien, something from another part of the universe who has come to Earth for a specific reason, who knows what. But I do believe that there are avatars, that these avatars are not aliens, that they are actual incarnations of God. That's my personal belief.
Okay. It was just a curiosity question. What can we do to take care of our aura and our chakras, or to potentially help our kundalini start to rise?
Well, there are specific techniques that are traditional techniques that work. Meditation, number one, meditation is the most important way to increase pranic energy, to develop spiritually, to become more spiritually awakened and enlightened. Number two would be you can do specific exercises to help you to awaken kundalini, to gain more pranic energy in your body. There's the yoga asanas, which are postures, yoga postures. There's what we call pranayama, which is breathing methods, deep breathing methods that are very, very effective in increasing prana and awakening kundalini. There's also what we call bandhas and mudras. The bandhas are physical locks that are really, really effective. There's three major bandhas, which is the Uddiyana bandha, that's the binding in the abdominal area. It's an abdominal lock. There's the neck lock called Jalandhara bandha. And then there's the Mula bandha, which is the root, your anus lock. So those locks really, really work. As their purpose is to awaken kundalini, and they're really powerful. I do teach these bandhas and mudras as well, like Shambhavi mudra and things like that. I teach those in my book, The Power of Chakras, and I teach some also in my book, The Power of Auras. And in my new book that's coming out, Awaken Your Third Eye, I have another book coming out in April called Awaken Your Third Eye. And that book, also, I've got a lot of great techniques for awakening kundalini.
And this is something that we can learn to do by ourselves. We don't need to have a teacher to explain it to us or walk us through it.
Right. I mean, ideal would be to have a teacher for personal instruction, but you can effectively practice pranayama, the breathing techniques, and the bandhas, and even the asanas, the postures, and all of that. You can do that just from a book. I've got diagrams. I teach you how, step by step. You can do it. It's possible to do it, and definitely it will increase pranic energy in your body when you do these techniques. They really work, and they work quickly.
But that's really good.
Yeah, it is good.
But let me, you've made the comment, if our chakras didn't work, we would die. But
That's true.
but why care for them in the first place if they understanding them or interacting them or healing them or fixing them? How will they fix our lives, or what will they do for us? What's the bottom line in even wasting our time? I mean, the doctors can't find them, so why should we even worry about them?
Well, you don't need to worry about them. They're operating by themselves. However, if you practice some of the methods that I teach in my books, The Power of Auras and The Power of Chakras, it can enhance your health greatly. Robust health and well-being is greatly enhanced by some of these methods, including meditation and the yogic techniques that I recommend. And obviously, good health is very important. And if we can enhance our health, and also if we can enhance our influence and our charisma and our intellect and things that make our life more fun and more enjoyable and on a higher level, why not practice these things?
But that's a really great idea. Have you ever worked with anyone who, or even yourself, who had some kind of a health issue going on, and by doing yoga or meditating or whatever, that they were able to heal?
Yes, absolutely. And in my own life, I found it structurally very helpful to practice the physical methods, for example, to have more flexibility in your body by itself, or to have greater, obviously meditation completely transformed my life because it helped me to have perceptions that I never had before, higher consciousness, experiences of higher consciousness, experiences of what I call that fourth state of consciousness, which is transcendental consciousness, and to be able to communicate with divine beings, which I do on a regular basis. I mean, meditation has been incredible for me, but also the other yogic practices have been very powerful for me also in reference to health. And other people I know, not just me.
Mm-hmm. Do people find that their lives just work better, work easier by opening themselves up?
What I find and what other people find is that their life takes on greater meaning and also less problems. Things flow better. When you're in the flow of cosmic life, when you are connected to spirit, then you have more like coincidences that aren't really coincidental are happening a lot in your life. You're at the right time, the right place, right thing, good things happen, and less difficulties, less drama, even more evenness, more easygoing life, peaceful life.
But just having peace of mind is probably a really good thing any day of the week.
It's actually the most greatest thing we could aspire to, is to have peace of mind. Because if we're in content and happy, then life is worthwhile, for sure.
So what do you have? We need to wrap up. Do you have anything exciting coming up for you in the near future? Any classes or anything you're giving?
Absolutely. And for example, I'll be at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles coming up in February, on February 7th, and I'll also be on a panel there. I have a cruise coming up. Go to divinetravels.com, divinetravels.com, and subscribe there to find out about tours and retreats to sacred destinations and cruise ship seminars. I'll be doing one in February and another one in June, as far as the seminars at sea. Just go to my website, drsusan.org. When you go to that website, you'll be able to read the first chapter of all of my books. You'll be able to listen to teleseminars, radio interviews. You can read different interviews I've done as well. There's a lot on the website that you can learn. And I would love for you to come on one of my live events, like my cruise ship seminars that are coming up, and other events, like, for example, going to Peru and other sacred places throughout the world. That's why it's a good idea to subscribe at divinetravels.com, because it's always different things are coming up. In different years, I have different events coming up. So check that out and subscribe there so you can find out.
Perfect. Dr. Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show, and we will have you back sometime this summer to talk about your new book.
My great pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and I loved the questions because it brought out so many very interesting topics.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then next week, we are having Stephen and Evan Strong back talking about the hidden history of Australia. And so until next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. Be blessed.
Join host Dr. Rita Louise each week at this time for Just Energy Radio. Point your browser to www.justenergyradio.com for more show information and to contact Dr. Rita. Until next time, remember, it's all just energy.